Hi everybody, it's Froggy Friday! I'm so excited for today's frog. I am moving my oldest daughter to college this week, and she is going to college on the coast of California, and so I decided to make a Seaside Froggy. Now I'm adding the eyes, and I'm doing the same method I always do with the UV resin. I did use large flatback pearls. I have no idea why I'm so zoomed in, I'm sorry. You can see one of the pearls there, which of course I struggle with because it's not a Kitschy Kitten studio video if I don't struggle with something, right? Froggy also needs some toes, and I decided to do sort of an ombre. I'm doing the ocean, so it's going to go from the deeper blue of the ocean up to the white of the foamy waves, and I wanted to kind of mimic that in the seed bead colors. So the front three toes are the white of the waves, then the fourth front toe is a lighter mint green, and it gets darker from there. I try to go ahead and flip those around so they're all sort of facing the same way, and then that will go under the UV lamp for a full 3-minute cure. Now it's time for the first layer, which is going to be the white wave layer, and I want to put this on an angle, so the perfect thing I found was just one of my cups. I'm pouring in this white resin. It's the Let's Resin Crystal Clear Epoxy resin. It's regular setting, and I added some opaque white pigment paste to it. I'm going to be doing this layer by layer, and I need to make sure I have enough room for all of the layers, so I only did a little bit of the white. And once that's cured in my curing machine for a couple of hours, it's time for the next layer. For this one, I'm using the Let's Resin alcohol ink in the color Turquoise, and for the rest of the layers, I will be using all Let's Resin products. Whenever I can, I try to use the same brand of products because typically speaking, they'll play nicely together and you don't end up with any weird issues. Naturally, I am reusing a cup, so I'm sorry for the other colors in there, but I promise you it's only turquoise. I want it not quite fully transparent, and I want to lighten the color, so I'm using the Let's Resin Opaque White Pigment Paste. I don't really like this to make something super opaque, but if you want to add a little bit of the white to it, this is a good one to use. I end up using, I think, a total of 3 drops. Of course, I have to really stir this, and I'm not worried about introducing too many bubbles because it's the ocean and water has bubbles, right? Stir it up. You definitely want to make sure you stir it all the way and don't have any streaks left. I sped through that because the majority of that clip was just the cup in the way. I didn't think you needed to watch the cup. It's time for our next layer, and I am using the turquoise again, but I will also be adding another color to that. Again, it's a Let's Resin alcohol ink, and this color is cerulean. This one is a slightly more blue version of the turquoise, essentially. After editing, I realized this video is just mostly me stirring. Not the most fun to watch. But I do add another drop of the cerulean because while I do want it to be still that sort of pretty turquoisey color, I want to start transitioning it to the ocean blue. And you can see it's slightly darker, slightly more blue, but it's also translucent, so the rest of the layers will also be translucent. Froggy Friday is a weekly amphibian collaboration hosted by Girl in the Garage, The Dragon's Cave, Nerd Goblin Art, Tim the Bass Resonator, and Gert Creates. The playlist is always in the description. Please go watch the other videos when you're done with mine. Okay, that has cured, and it's time for our next layer, which will be the Let's Resin Azure Blue Alcohol Ink. You can see I've really transitioned into the blues, and I really like the way this layer sort of blends with the prior layer. This isn't quite blue enough for me. It's going to be a little bit more spread out than it is in the bottom of the cup, so I decided to add some more of that azure blue just to make sure it really comes across as blue and not too pale. At this point, I realize I don't want it on such a steep angle, so I ditched the cup altogether. When I put it in the curing machine, I put a couple of small popsicle sticks underneath it just to lift it a slight bit. I apparently really wanted to make sure I got every last drop of this color. Okay, and now it's time for the next blue layer, and I'm using Sapphire Blue. This color blue is actually one of my favorite resin dye colors I have. I don't know what it is, but it's such a beautiful, pure blue. I want to use it in everything. This is going to go into my curing machine for a couple of hours, and then it'll be our very last layer. All right, we're on to our last layer, and for this one I am using Midnight Blue Alcohol Ink. This is significantly darker than the last layer we did, and I do add several drops to make sure that it's noticeably darker. I finished filling this in the curing machine, and it will be time to take this frog out of the mold and complete the final step. I know I keep saying this, but I really love how those translucent layers blended together. I think they look really good. I can't wait to do another ocean themed project and use these beautiful translucent blues. And here it is. I love the way the layers look since they're on a tilt. I think these tilted layers would look really cool with Halloween or Christmas colors, something like that. Froggy kiss. We are going to give this cutie a couple of ocean themed embellishments, and I'll be using my liquid fusion glue to do that. And after this point, she's all ready for her glamour shots. I really like doing nature themed projects almost as much as I like doing food themed projects. I realized that this is maybe one of 2 frogs I've made with no glitter. None. Not a sparkle to be had. Even though she's not sparkly and glittery, I still love this Seaside Frog, and it will always remind me of my daughter, who is very happy in her dorm with her dorm mates and having a great time. I hope the rest of your Friday is hoppin'.
Thanks for hopping by. I'll see you soon.